Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is No South, No South Capital, coming to you on another warm morning from the Southern Hemisphere. Ladies and gentlemen, interesting times ahead on the markets. Markets looking very strong. This is why I'm starting with this page today. So it says S&P 500 rallies on US-China trade war de-escalation hopes. I'm not going to be reading the story, but we will look at what the market's doing at the moment. US 30, 39,145, up 973. US 500, 5,291, up 132. Dow Jones Industrial, 39,163, up 993. S&P 500, 5291, up 133.24. Nasdaq 16,344, up 473.97. The VIX is also, a bit down, 30.97, down 305. And of course, the dollar index, 98.59, up 0.551. So, looks like the markets are looking quite high and dandy. We all know the kind of problems that have been going on at the moment in the markets. So, nothing unusual. Trade war and other things going on. We all know that. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about the crypto, rough and ready crypto analysis. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get started. Now, while I was just talking to you, there it is. It hit 91,000 and it hit 91,000 again. So we are currently at 91,590. Sorry, 91,043. I beg your pardon. That was the 91,594 was the high of the day. And while I was making that introduction, we saw the price hit the 91,000. Now, looking at this chart, you will see that there are two other lines. I'll explain in a minute. But first, we look at our areas of demand and supply. We've got our areas of demand here and areas of supply up here. If we go with our... Oh, sorry about that. I was doing something. So let's do a 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Yep, I think that's it. So, again, at the 61 point, we got to 74,000, almost 74,500, something like that, as you can see here. Now, you may have been hearing about the 91,000 something, 90,000. Some people are talking about this is the 90,000 here, this area of support, which has turned into an area of resistance because you can see it supports this area here. And then it starts resisting here. And you can see that even the current price has been struggling to get above that area. It's been going and coming back, going up and coming back. Now, many believe that if it breaks that area, then it could go much higher. Somebody was saying about 96, 97, which is at the area of the point of control here. Now, that's going to be very interesting if it can do that, because that means that it's going to get out of this area. If you remember in one of my videos, I called these chunks of missing parts of the volume profile, I call them ice cream scoops because of a friend of mine who did that. So I'm going to keep reminding you until I can actually use it directly. So if it gets out of these areas of the ice cream scoops, then I think that we are we're going to be safe and we're going to see some further highs in terms of the price of Bitcoin. Well, currently, as I said, this area is about 90,520. That's this area here, this line here. And that's acting as an area of support, as I said before, but now resistance. So we're going to wait and see how that goes. The markets are looking strong, volume looking quite strong here. As we can see, volume profile, as I said before, point of control up here at about 96,414. So if it breaks there, then we begin to know that we're on the uptrend. Now, I used the Fibonacci just to establish an area here of 74. If it breaks this area, then yes, we can start talking about some between 65 and about 69. But until that time, that's off the cards. Now, let's just hide the... now, the two areas here, this area here, the yellow line and, of course, the orange line. Now, the orange line is the 200-day moving average. Now, based on standard technical analysis, once price action starts going above the 200-day moving average, then people believe that we're on an upward trend. Now, and then you have to wait for a confirmation. What makes the confirmation a little bit strong is this yellow line. The yellow line is the anchored VWAP. Now, which is the anchored volume weighted average price, which is considered the fair value. Now, this price here is about what's this, about 86 or so, 86,620, and you can see that the price, today's price, is just sitting right on top of it, so it's acting almost like support and just about surpassing the 200-day moving average. Now, we can't really say it's surpassed it yet until we get confirmation. Confirmation will not come until tomorrow or probably the day after, when we actually see a clear price sign above those two areas. So currently we are looking at a kind of upward trend, and that is why I introduced this to start the video, because I wanted you to see these prices, the percentages as they're going up on the different indices across the markets. Next, we are looking at, this is the liquidation map for Bitcoin, and you can see, just basically looking at this here, most of the action is in between about 96,868, so from 78,519. Now, as you can see, all these areas here, there's a lot of juicy pieces of action here in terms of money financially. At this level here, we've got about $833,000 in liquidation leverage. Here we've got 514, and at the darker areas we've got 1.6 million, 1.06 million, which is 1.08 million. Here's 1.4 million. This area here is 1.37 million. Here we've got about 685,000, 897, almost a million. So this area here between 78,519 and 96,863 are the areas of where the most amount of liquidation. Now, the most liquidation are in this area here, as we can see, 1.56 million. But then again, it's been taken out. As you can see, the price has taken these two areas out. So this is what we're looking at here now. So it might go up and take out these areas of liquidation before coming down. So if you are a trader and you look at trading between 519 to this area here, 96,800 and something, then you will be, I think you'll be safe and you can successfully trade. Remember, pure speculation, put in a little bit of leverage, expect those areas to be taken out, make your profits. So do not be surprised to see that happen. And do not be surprised to see that when a little bit of this euphoria goes down, the price of Bitcoin starts coming down to this area. But if it doesn't go below 74, then don't expect it to come down to the 60s. There are some people I know out there, traders, waiting for it to fall to this level. I wouldn't hold my breath if that were you. Not in this market. It's traded sideways for way too long to begin to consider this area here. So let's wait and see. So we're just gonna stick to the 200-day moving average, and of course the anchored VWAP. We're not going to use Ichimoku today. Right now, let's move on to the next thing. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to jump to Ethereum, but I said let me just look at Binance. Let's have a look at it and see what it's doing. That's the 200-day moving average. It's still under it, as we can see. If we take, let's do something. Let's reduce that and let's have a look. Just a really ugly chart, as we can see. Very ugly chart. If we use this area here roughly for our anchored VWAP. Anchored VWAP is looking at about $624. The 200-day moving average is looking at $634. So it's still under that. Has a way to go. Now, if it gets into this area here, which is an area of supply, it could affect the price. The price could be knocked down. Although the volume, if you look down here, the volume is quite strong at the moment. It's a little bit strong here and fairly consistent, even though it's not that much in terms of how much is going on. But at least it's to the upside. We'll wait and see what happens on this one. Again, another area of supply, fairly even volume profile, but this is the area of the action at which is about 583. at the point of control. Not much to say on Binance. A lot of people have sort of cleared their Binance out, but for those of you that hold it, well, we can see an area of support here at about $500, and a second area of support here, this area, which is the area of demand at the lower end here, which is about 472. So I'm not expecting it to fall that low. Even though it's trading sideways, it's not it's not inspiring at all. Let's just be honest. We had to get an inspiration from this particular cryptocurrency, but it's here, it's established, and we just have to keep looking at it. Okay, let's move to Ethereum. Again, way below the 200-day moving average, as you can see. Let's look for a point that we can use for our anchored VWAP. I think we can safely pick somewhere here. Going up to the upside, let's do that. Let's do this. Let's pick this area here. And then we pick this area here, because this is where it started going down. Cross themselves there, and you can see the two areas are 2,492 and 2,765. Our 200-day moving average is about 2,757, and price is way below that. Remember, the anchored VWAP tends to give you the fair value price of a particular instrument, and this current price on this, we are down at 1,688, way below. Also below the 200-day moving average. This tells you that this is definitely doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Now, there were quite a bit of announcements on Ethereum, and Vitalik Buterin was talking about certain things that they're going to do. But ladies and gentlemen, the earliest some of these things are going to come in is about 2029. Now, in the realms of crypto, 2029, between now and 2029 is almost like a million years when you think of crypto, not to mention that AI itself is also doubling its power every it's about 5.7 months. It's doubling in its capabilities. So what do they think is going to be around in 2029? Bitcoin might not be around 2029. Solana might not be even around in 2029. And I think that Ethereum is now doing things a little bit way too late. Trying to do the right things, but it's way too late for that now, because 2029, come on, ridiculous. I think people, if you're someone like me, again, no financial advice here, but if you're someone like me who has been bridging my Solana into Ethereum bit by bit, as soon as it looks good, I bridge it. I mean, because look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of supply. It's lower highs, a series of lower highs and lower lows, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better when it comes to Ethereum. But we'll wait and see. A friend of mine said the other day, well, we all thought that certain coins were dead. And when they rose back from the dead, he was kind of surprised. Remember when coins like XRP, XLM, ADA, hell, and even EOS, which was supposed to be the Ethereum killer, I was even surprised that people still have this coin. And all those things rose, and I was kind of surprised that people still have this stuff. So he was saying that, look, why don't you just hold on to the coin, hold on to your Ethereum, whatever is left. You never know. Well, I'm going to try and move to the fastest horse as I can. I'm not going to really hang around with that. But anyway, that's Ethereum. I'm not expecting to see much happening here. Okay, let's go on to Solana. And here is Solana. Let's reset the chart. Okay. Again, we can see this is well under the 200-day moving average. Let's find a nice spot for. We could go back as far as. Let's try and go back this far. Let's just try this with the anchored VWAP. Okay, with this, I'm sorry, there it is. Let's So that's the anchored VWAP, just barely above it there. And then if we go, it's coming down from here. So anchored VWAP is between 133 and 160. Some people might not necessarily pick this area because of how the price has gone up and then gone down and flattened here. So I think maybe we take it from somewhere here. Let's see what, let's just try and see what it looks like. Let's start here because we've really got things going. Okay, here is better because we've really got things going up. Let's try from here. What do we get? So we got between 160 and 176. So about 160 before we get to a fair value price for Solana. It is also, as you can see, well under the 200-day. 200-day moving average is about 180.97. So Solana at the moment, remember I had recommended buys at certain areas. If you can get in at under 150, I think it's still a good buy. I also think that this particular cryptocurrency is seriously oversold and undervalued, and I think there's opportunities, particularly with all the technical stuff that's going on within this particular cryptocurrency. One shouldn't sleep on it. I know people are complaining about Solana, but this is one coin that I believe that people should really, I think people should hold. I don't think that we should be sleeping on this one. As I said, I believe it's seriously undervalued. If you can get in at about under 150 at the moment, good for you. If you got in earlier, like I did in some areas where I told you about several areas of where I was taking limit buys, and right now all those areas have now paid off, but we shall see over time. Okay, let's go to SUI. SUI has gone up in price. As you can see, here's our 200-day moving average. For our anchored VWAP, we can just take it from here, this area here, because it's the start of it going up. And let's look at it from its peak to where it is now. So you've got a fair value between $2.73 and $3.08. Currently it's at $2.38. Almost $2.39. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of supply. They're not too bad, but there are also areas that if care is not taken, you might find difficulties getting through some areas, but not necessarily areas like this. You might be able to get through here. If it breaks through here, we are looking at about $3.08. If you can get in under 250, I believe it's 250. Yeah, if you can get in under 250, I think you'll be doing just okay. You'll be fine. And we just have to wait and see what happens. Look, there are a lot of things going on with SUI as well. It's kind of interesting. I know there's been some recent developments. I need to read up on them, but developments nonetheless are taking place. Like I said, you got to move to where things are happening. You can't, leave your money on the table but rather leave the money on something else that is not moving. Point of control is further down. It's about 0.84. That's 84 cents. Reasonably even volume profile, although there's a lot of activity in this area here, but then again, as you can see, this area here, a lot of sideways trading going on. Currently, we are still not out of the woods yet until it goes above the 200-day moving average. And so, as I said, try and get in under 250. I think you'll be okay for now when it comes to SUI. Okay, let's go to Moodeng. We do this because we have been doing it all the time. So we're just going to go through it. This time, there's not enough data for the 200-day moving average. Okay, let's go down to the 4-hour and see if we can get something. Oh, yes, we did, using the 4-hour. And Oops. Just about trying to go over it on the 4 hour, but still under it. We're not going to bother using the anchored VWAP for this. We all know, I've said it before and I'll say it again, this requires a lot of patience. If you're somebody who's got in at this low price, lucky you. But for those holders, infinite patience. We're not going to go through that. You already know this. And let's go to the last one, which is WIF. Does this have, let's look at the daily. Oh, this is enough data. Way below the 200-day moving average. Current price is what? 46 cents, just over 46 cents. 200-day moving average at $1.66. So let's see if we can use, let's take this spot here and see what that gives us in terms of the, and of course the top. Let's see roughly where fair value could be for, interesting. So a fair value for this one is between $1.26 and $1.53. And we're way below that. And all these two are also below the 200-day moving average, which is about 166. 1, 2, 3 major areas of, 4 areas of our supply actually, with an overlap here, which is quite strong. And price could find itself, if it gets to this area, price could find itself finding it very difficult to break through this particular area here. Again, those with this particular cryptocurrency, infinite patience is required. But for those of you in the speculative realm, you'll be very okay. If you buy now, you can sell here, 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 or here. Volume profile, even up to a point, but you can see this area here in the past had a lot of activity. And this is a lot of activity here as well. This area here, if we can break the, let's see, if the price breaks 78, 79 cents, you could find it rapidly going at about 159, even 160. So, fingers crossed for that. But that's the way to go. Excuse me. So, in conclusion, markets are very volatile. Very difficult to judge some of these things. Those of you who are traders, that would be very evident. There was a trade I was working on yesterday. On Easter. I think it was Easter Sunday, and I was just about to take a short position on Solana when things exploded, and the trading volume just kind of went through the roof for no apparent reason. But nevertheless, this is a very volatile period, and people are very struggling. Technical analysis in particular, people are looking at the charts and saying this is way too volatile, makes no sense, can't take positions. So the best way of trading at the moment is not taking any position or not risking money unnecessarily. So please do not risk your money unnecessarily. Do not take up too much leverage. Remember, a close friend of mine in the markets was telling me that, listen, when you start taking large positions with over 10% leverage, they're coming to look for you. So ladies and gentlemen, please be careful. Keeping your money in your wallets or your bank accounts or whatever for now is also good risk management, particularly when the market demands that it should be like that. Anyway, so that's me. So keep your eyes and ears open and your trading sharp. Have a good one.